Welcome to the third in a continuing series on the Book of Shmuel, or Samuel, and the founding of Jewish monarchy. This week we complete chapter 1 and take a brief tour to ponder the source of the name Nitzevet, found in Bava Batra 91a, and contrast the story of Chana with that of Naomi, finding similarities in language and theme. We then try to understand the implications of this comparison for Malchut. All this and more. Thanks for joining us, and please consider sharing this recording with others.
Okay. So, just to very briefly recap where we're at, we've done like the first half of Parak Aleph in Shmuel Part Aleph, and we saw kind of the backdrop to the first chapter was the end of Sefer Shoftim, where we talked about Shevet Binyamin kind of being the pariah based on the story of Pelagish Begiva, and kind of setting the stage for Malchus over there. And then we opened with this story of, first it was Elkanah going up to Beulah L'Regel, and then we very quickly switched from Elkanah as the protagonist, kind of abruptly, to focus on Chana, that the story was not and really is not about Elkanah, it's about Chana and the fact that she's barren and she's dealing with the trials of Penina, and Elkanah doesn't seem to really get what is distressing her, so she finally goes to the Mishkan in Shiloh, and there you have yet another person who doesn't get what her problem is. She's davening, and Eli thinks that she's drunk, and he comes and starts to berate her, and that's where we kind of pick up in the action. If anyone wants to take a copy, we've got some in the back. Otherwise, I'll kick us off. So we had in Pasuk Yud Gimel, V'chana hi medaberes al liba. Chana is speaking to her heart. Rak sfaseha naos v'kola lo yishamea v'yachshaveha eli l'shikora.
Spell out proud. Pascal?
We just finished Pasuk Yud Gimel. Vayomer Elaha Eli. So Eli sees her, and he sees her lips moving, and he doesn't hear any sound, so he thinks that she is drunk. And we pointed out, I think last time, the irony of her promising that her son will be a Nazir, meaning he will definitely not be drunk, and now she's being mistaken for being inebriated. Vayomer Elaha Eli ad masai tishtakrin hasiri es yenech me'alayich. How long are you going to hang out, in the Mishkan? Being drunk is a little much of a spectacle. It's time to sober up. Vatan Chana v'tomer lo adoni, no, my master. And I think we pointed out last time, she's saying you're not the master of the situation over here. You don't really understand what's going on. Isha kshat ruach anochi. I am a woman of bitter spirit. V'yein v'shechar lo shatiti. I didn't drink any alcohol. V'shpoch es nafshi lifnei Hashem. And I'm pouring out, again, playing on the visuals there. I didn't drink, but I'm pouring out my soul before God. Al titen et amatech lifnei bat bliyal ki merov sichi v'kasi dibarti ad henan. I think we covered all this last time. Okay. V'yan Eli v'yomer l'chi l'shalom. We also did this pasuk, right? Go in peace. You always say l'chi l'shalom, not l'chi b'shalom. V'lohei Yisrael litain es shelasech asher sha'alt me'imo. And God should grant you the request that you have been shoel, shin aleph lamed. That word and that root is going to appear over and over and over again, because what is that the shoresh for? Sha'ul, right? So we're already here in the middle of the very first pasuk, getting some foreshadowing. Welcome.
Oh, counts is good. Oh, I like the electronics. Shabbos, you never see that.
There's no foxes in the story, are there?
There's no foxes in the story.
Shmuel. Right.
Shmuel, yeah, there you go.
I want to sleep shop.
That's awesome.
No boxes. Getting short box.
I know.
Box on box.
We have to move to Friday night. Okay. Right. So vatomer timsa shivchasech chen be'inecha. Oh wow, I found such favor in your eyes, your maidservant, Vatalecha Isha Ladarkan, and she goes off on her way, Vatochal, and she eats. Ufaneha lo hayu la'od, and she doesn't have the face that she had before, meaning, if you remember before, she was downcast and she's not eating, and now everything has changed. Also, we have sort of a reflection back on Eli gave her apayim. He used to give her food like face to face or a double portion, but that word apayim, and over here you have paneha, one is recalling the other. V'yashkimu ba'boker, v'yishachavu lifnei Adonai v'yashuvu v'yavo el beitam. So now the couple together, they get up in the morning, they bow down before Hashem. V'yashuvu v'yavo el beitam haramasa, and they go back to Ramasa. V'yede Elkanah Chana ishto v'yizkareha Adonai. And Elkanah sleeps with his wife, and God remembers her. Vayhi l'tkufat hayamim, and it was after the so tkufat hayamim is like a turn of the turn of the days, the season. Chazal darshan from here that Shmuel was born in like there were two kinds of pregnancies in the ancient world. Either it's 9 months is the full term, 7 months is a second type of full term. So they darshan, what's that?
That's 7 months would be preemie.
Right. So 7 months to us would be preemie. Chazal seem to indicate that a baby could be born at the end of 6 months into the 7th month.
Lungs aren't developed. Before 38.
Yeah. Maybe
Nowadays you give steroids if they're like under 30 weeks, but I mean ultimately.
Okay.
Do you think they gave steroids back then?
No, probably not.
He can't even have wine. Like he's gonna have steroids. Okay. But Tar Chana v'Tele Bain, and Chana became pregnant, and she gave birth to a son, v'tikra Shmo Shmuel.
Why did you bring that up?
What?
The 9 and the 7.
So what is the phrase Vahilit Kufan Hayamim coming to teach me? V'tikra Shmo Shmuel ki me Adonai she'iltiv. So this is one where everyone sort of struggles with the etymology. If his name is Shmuel, then it sounds you need to have some sort of connection to the word shomea, right? Like how do you get to Shmuel from Hashem she'iltiv? If it's
his name should be Shaul.
His name should be Shaul. That's really what we're getting at over here, is that there's this undercurrent of I'm not sure how much to like say versus wait for when Shaul actually shows up, but it seems to me that there's a connection between the phrase Shaul, the Shin Aleph Lamed Shoresh, and kingship. And I think that's what's underlying some of what's going on over here. Radak and some others basically say like his name was that there doesn't have to basically be a connection in the etymology, that his name was Shmuel, and she called him that because he was asked for by God, but there's no connection between the reason and the names.
So why does it say that there is?
It doesn't say anywhere that there is. We're just used to.
No,
we're used to like.
Over there, it's just what you just read.
No. That's the. She called him Shmuel
Right.
because she asked God for him, and God was Shomea what she asked. So it's kind of leaving off the end of that argument. Right.
It breaks with the convention that usually when they give a reason for somebody's name in Tanakh.
Right. Hapam Yizboleni Ishi. Then his name is Zvulun. Right. That kind of the two go together.
Always, and here it's not a play on words. It's just like, oh, this follows from this, and it's like, dude, what are you doing?
Right. Vayal ha'ish Elkanah v'chol beito.
Somebody who doesn't get the joke, like this one makes the joke, and then the next guy makes the joke, and like they expect the third guy to make the joke, and it's just like the guy goes over his head, and he's like, what?
I'm sorry, we did this already. No one's even stopping me. I can read the same pasuk like 6 times. Vayal ha'ish Elkanah v'chol beito lizboach l'Adonai es zevach hayamim v'es nidro. So Elkanah and his whole household are now going up again to bring their zevach, their annual korban, and also the neder that they promised. Now, whether or not these korbanos have to do with Chana giving birth or not is also discussion.
And again, they're going up
to Shiloh.
Shiloh.
Correct.
To where the Mizbeach.
Where in Israel is Shiloh?
Shiloh is.
It's like right. There's a map in the. Do we have no in the Das Mikra, the white one, the white Hebrew one.
Of course. Shiloh. Very cool.
Yeah, they should have a picture of Shiloh.
They have a 3D tour of it.
Oh, that's cool.
You do that also?
Yeah.
They have festivals going on during the whole.
Have you been to Shiloh Winery?
Yeah.
It's your house. I didn't think it's that great.
Vayomer la Elkanah Isha. And so Elkanah, her husband, says to her, in case you weren't sure which Elkanah we're talking about here. I'm sorry. No one's correcting me at all. I'm totally off the rails here. But Chana lo alasa. Chana didn't go up with them. So everyone's going up to Shiloh. So Chana doesn't.
We don't know what we're talking about.
The Chana lo alasa. Chana doesn't go up. So they're all going up to Shiloh. Chana's the one that gave birth. Remember, she promised, if I have a kid, I'm going to give him to God, right? So you had a kid. Now's the time to kind of go give him to God, especially if you're bringing your neder, you're fulfilling your vow. Chana lo alasa ki amra, because she said isha to her husband, ad yigamel hanar. I'm going to wait until he's fully weaned, vaviosiv, and then I will bring him the nir'ah es pnei Adonai, and he will see the face of Hashem, meaning he'll go up to the Mishkan, vayashav sham ad olam, and he will be there forever. So there's a lot that's interesting over here. So first of all, the Gemara talks about how long did people used to nurse.
4 years.
Close.
2 years.
2 years. 2 years is the obligation, quote unquote, of the wife to nurse the child until they're like basically self-sufficient. They didn't have steroids, so they had nursing instead for 2 years. But that's the case over here with Shmuel. So Shmuel's supposed to go up to the Mishkan when he's 2 years old after he's fully weaned.
3 years?
I believe it's 2 years. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure the Gemara in Ksubis talks about 2 years.
3 year finish maybe this with Yitzchak, right?
Could be. Right.
Right.
Right, and Abram made the party when he was right. The nearest Pnei Hashem. So over here again, we're talking about seeing the face, and he's going to be there forever, says Chana. So that's also an interesting point.
How can she obligate her son?
Right, so
Who the hell wanted him?
right. So that's a really interesting question that I don't have a good answer for.
Say it again. What was the question?
When are Levium supposed to serve in the Beis HaMikdash? 25.
Right.
So what use does Eli have? Whatever. 20, 25, whatever it is. What's he going to do with this 2-year-old?
Right.
Like, who says I want him? Let's say you promised him. Great. I don't care. We're not running a kindergarten. Like, what do you?
Not even kindergarten.
Not even, right? Pre-1A.
I remember Shmuel lives 52 years, right?
That's also Chazal, yes.
Right? So, it's like the 2 years of weaning, and then...
That's Ad Olam,
plus
right?
50 years.
That's
like,
Ad Olam. Usually
right.
when the Pasuk says Ad Olam, it means 50 years.
That's how they got that he was...
I don't know. So this Ad Olam is also hard to deal with because she says he's going to be in the Mishkan forever, right?
Right.
Are there other examples of Adolam meaning 50 years?
The Yovel.
Yovel, yeah.
That the slaves go free.
So it says Adolam.
Yeah. But Shmuel is supposed to be in the Mishkan in Shiloh forever, according to this pasuk, right? We also know that according to his mother. His mother's a prophetess. She's one of the 7 prophetesses. So hopefully she knows what she's talking about. The problem is, again, spoiler alert.
Her son.
No. The problem is the Mishkan in Shiloh is going to get destroyed pretty soon. Like this Mishkan is not around Adolam.
Well, it gets captured, right?
By the Plishtim. Let's. I jumped the gun, but now I'm going to unjump the gun. Okay. Vayomer la Elkanah isha, and Elkanah, her husband, says to her, Asiyatov beinayich, you do whatever you want. Shvi agmalecho so. Stay here until you finish weaning him. Ach yakim Adonai es dvaro v'tashev. But God has fulfilled His word. The implication being, you must also after you're done nursing him, you got to bring him up. V'teshav yishava tanik es banah ad gmalah oso. So she remains weaning him until she. She remains nursing him until she weans him. V'taleu imakasher gmalasu.
But we're just assuming that she's having buyer's remorse or regret.
Who is?
No.
I think Eli is kind of trying to preempt that. Like, I hear you can do whatever you want, but you're the one that made a neder, and what's that?
Okay.
Yeah, Elkanah is saying to her, look, God kept His promise, so you made the neder, you got to figure this out. And v'talei makasher gmalasu b'parim shlosha ve'efa achas. So after she finishes weaning him, she brings him up with how many cows? 3 cows. Ve'efa achas kemach v'nevel yayin. Vataveu beis Adonai Shiloh v'hanar nar, and the kid is, they translate here, very young. Nar usually means someone who is like who's moving around, right? So the kid is acting like a kid. He's all over the place. There's a whole interesting chazal over here where they come to bring the korban. I guess I'm again jumping the gun a little bit. We'll read in the next couple of psukim. They come to bring the korban, and the sons of Eli, who are not super great about offering people's korbanos, are nowhere to be found. So Shmuel, who's 2, paskins that Azar is kosher to bring the korban, and so they he just can't be makabel the dam.
Who's this guy?
This is Shmuel at 2 years old.
Who is Azar then?
Shmuel is 2. He's a Levi. He's not a Kohen. So he's saying, look, Azar is kosher to bring to shech the korban. We'll just have to get a Kohen to collect the blood. But the problem is that he paskin the halacha in front of Eli. So Eli says, okay, well then you're chayiv misa. And Eli's mother's like, no, this is the kid I daven for. You can't oh, well, you daven for him. We'll get you another kid. Don't worry. These are a dime a dozen. No, this is the one I want. We'll see how that bears out in the words in a minute. If you want, we have.
How does that even work?
Oh, sorry, even better.
So
Okay.
Wait, back up.
Yeah.
Okay. First of all,
let's see it in the words.
You're not liable to chayiv misa until you're 21 anyway. So how is that even a thing?
Correct.
That they're bringing out, the kid's not bar mitzvah. He's not chayiv even in the mitzvah.
These stories are a medrash. They're not meant to be taken as halacha lamaisa.
Right, I get that. So what's the value in the back and forth if it's not rooted in halacha?
So that's a great question. I believe the value in these kinds of stories are to tell you something about how Chazal saw the personality of the people in the story. That there's a clash between Shmuel and Eli from day one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so pasuk chavhei. Vayishchatu es hapar, and they shecht the singular cow. How many did they bring? 3. They shecht 1. V'yaviyehu es hanar el Eli, and they bring the boy to Eli. What does that make it sound like?
They're too shy.
They're two cows shy, or that Shmuel is one of the korbanos, right? Elkanah says, "Go fulfill your neder." They're bringing up all their korbanos. They list the korbanos. It's the boy who's weaned, and the 3 cows, and the kemach, and the blah blah blah. And so they shecht 1, and they stop in the middle. They should have shechted all 3. No, they shecht 1, and then they bring Shmuel over to Eli. Vatomer biadoni. And now Chana speaks to Eli, and this is where you'll see why Chazal read in that whole story. Chei nafshecha Adoni, ani ha'isha hanitzeves imcha bazel lihispalel Adonai. Please, my Lord, as I am the woman who stood here beside you to daven to Hashem. I don't have any source for any of this, but I'll just share it with you because I think it's interesting. This word Nitzeves is interesting to me for 2 reasons. One is, what is the name of David HaMelech's mother? For 50 bonus Gemara points.
No. Avram Avinu's a monthly one.
But Carnival, right. So there's the Gemara and Bava Batra lists these obscure names. So we have Avram Avinu's mother as one. Shimshon's mother, this is 100 bonus Gemara points. If you can Google it faster than I can say it.
No, you can ask my wife.
Shimshon's mother is Tzalal Ponit. That one I couldn't get past the goalie. I was trying to name one of my kids, and it didn't make it to the final round. Tzalal Ponit. The nickname would be Silly Pony. Just saying.
Your wife didn't go for it?
Didn't go for it.
Come on.
And the name of David HaMelech's mother was according to the marriage was Nitzevet. So that's a nice medrash. Where does that come from? How did they just pick out of a hat that the David HaMelech's mother's name is Nitzevet? So this is my own interpretation. I can't tell you I saw this anywhere. Where does David HaMelech come from? Rus. Where does Rus come from? Moab. Where does Moab come from? Lot. What happened to Lot's wife? A Nitzevet. She turned into a Nitzevet Melech. Right? Okay. That's where we have this term. So I believe, and I'm going to continue to try to make the argument that Shmuel's mother is trying to sort of position him for Malchus, and that's why she's throwing in some of this terminology.
You didn't come from Lot's wife, you came from Lot's daughter.
Position Shmuel for Malchus?
Yes. Yeah.
filling out the ancestors.
I don't get it. I thought he was a Cohen.
Shmuel is not a Kohen. Shmuel is a Levi.
Okay.
Shmuel comes
So-
from Korach.
Okay. So, right. But that being said, okay, fine. Then how can he be a king if he's from Levi?
Okay. Who says he can't be? Binyamin's not from Yehuda. Shaul was a king.
You see how well that turned out.
You'll appreciate. There's a great meme where they took. There's an art scroll biography of the Nitzev, or maybe it's my uncle the
My
Nitzev.
uncle, yeah, I have.
Right. So they switched the cover to my uncle the Nitzev, and then it's a pile of salt. Because it's Nitzev Melech. Okay, forget it. Yeah, it's like super inside baseball. Okay. El Hanar Hazeh Palalti. I davened for this boy, right? This is where again Chazal are reading in that Eli says, well, he's Chayiv Misa, and so we got to get rid of him. No, she says to him, Chaynam Shecha. I'm the woman that came, and this is the kid that I daven for. Okay, says Eli, I hear you daven for him, so you daven for another one, and you'll have another one. No, it says Narazeh Palalti. I don't want another one. I want this boy. V'yitin Adonai she'ilasi asher sha'alti asher as she'ilasi asher sha'alti me'imo. This is also an ongoing machlokes among the academics. Is there rhyme in Tanakh? I believe there is, and I believe you can read this pasuk this way: "Esanar azeh spalalti v'yitein Hashem she'ilasi asher sha'alti." Right? You hear the rhythm of that.
And there's no outrage that it treated juveniles as an adult.
No.
I'm just wondering, like, how would it played out differently if the mom had been like, yeah, you're right, I'll get another one.
Right?
All right.
But here you see her parroting back his words to him. Remember, he said, Hashem should give you as she'ilasi, the thing you asked for, and she says, this is who I asked for. V'yitain Hashem es she'ilasi asher sha'alti me'imo. The gam, and she continues using that same shoresh. The gam anochi hish'iltihu ladonai kol hayamim asher hayahu Shaul ladonai v'yishtachu sham ladonai. And I, in turn, hereby lend him to Hashem. For as long as he lives, he's lent to Hashem, and they bow before Hashem. Okay, that is Parak Aleph. Now, I'm going to ask you to be a little bit of a detective and try to look back through this parak, or even think back conceptually, and tell me if there is any story that we collectively have learned together that you would say Chana's story is patterned after, either based on the language or based on the concepts.
A little bit. I'm not sure if this makes sense. A little bit like Rus.
Like Rus. Okay, tell me.
Just the way he's sending out, the daughter-in-laws, and go and doesn't want to go. She holds her back. And like just.
Okay.
There's a lot of parallels. You have Rachel and Leah fighting with each other.
Right.
So you have that with Chana and.
Right, that we had at the beginning of the parak. True.
That. You'll have sacrificing his sons of Avinu and Yitzchak, with Shmuel being sacrificed with Eli, God.
Okay.
There's a lot of parallelisms everywhere.
Okay. I'm asking about Chana specifically. The story we just read through of Chana.
Huh. I'm going to let Shimi answer that one.
So I like the line that Shimi was going down, but I will try to.
We didn't do Shim Sham, right?
We didn't. We
did, sure.
many years ago.
Where were you?
I was probably in Connecticut.
Where, Bridgeport?
No, Waterbury.
So sorry.
It wasn't too bad.
So what I would argue is that Chana's story is actually patterned after Naomi. First, I guess we'll do conceptually. So both of them are women who are admittedly embittered and angry at God, right? Naomi says, Ki marli Elokim, that God embittered me, I have no children. Chana is also, she shows up and she davens al Hashem, and she says that she's bitter and angry at God because she has no children, right? Both of them.
Naomi does have children.
She didn't. God took away her children.
Had children.
She had children, but she doesn't have anymore, and she's angry at God because of that.
Okay,
And
she
she's
had children.
yeah, but both are looking for continuity, and are both have to deal with a tzara, right? A female who's described as a tzara. Naomi describes the Rus and Arpa when they're traveling as bringing her this Marli Mikam. Chana has to deal with Arpa, who is described as also embittering her life and bringing her tsar. Both Naomi and both Naomi and Chana, both Naomi and published. Both Naomi and Chana have to deal with, I want to say like feckless, but maybe that's a little too much. They have to deal with men who should be helping them and are not helping them, right? You have Boaz, who should be helping, isn't helping until they kind of figure out a way to force him into helping. And then you have Eli, who should be helping and completely misreads the whole scenario. And first he's yelling at her for being drunk until he turns it around.
There's a difference there. One's a husband, one's the
For sure there's differences. It's not the exact same story, but there are elements of the story that seem to play out. And the language is used over and over again. And again, I'm going to try to make this argument, and I want to layer a stretch, really?
Yes.
You have Elkanah saying that I'm better for you than 10 sons. And you have the neighbors telling Naomi that Rus is better for you than 7 sons. You have literally the same language used over and over again.
Yaakov to Rachel also saying that, my God.
Right, right. So if we buy this, and I'm not saying you have to buy it, and maybe I'll continue to try to make the case, but if we buy it, then the question has to go from what to so what. Let's pretend we believe that the story of Chana is patterned after the story of Naomi. What would be the purpose in doing that? Why? And remember, the author of Safe. What's that? Excellent. You're like right on target.
What is it?
The author of Shmuel is the same author as the author of Rus, right? So there's it makes sense for the same author to be reusing the language. And the argument I would try to make is exactly what Jimmy said, which is if one of the things that Naomi is trying to accomplish is to position this child as either the stand-in for Malchus, or if Chana is trying to position her child as either being a candidate for Malchus or being a stand-in for Malchus, meaning you don't need a king.
The one who's supposed to wrote Rus?
God?
God.
No. Shmuel. Shmuel wrote at least part of Sefer Shmuel. God, Nasan, and Shmuel, all 3.
Oh, okay.
All 3. And Shmuel wrote Megillas Rus. So
why would she even think he's Malchus when Yehuda was Malchus?
That was the question we just had. Because there's no indication beforehand that the job is only available to Yehuda. It's after the fact that after David shows up, then we get Lo Yasser Shevet Yehuda really means David and his family. But Shaul wasn't from Yehuda, and no one raised a flag and said, how can we possibly do this? Right? He was chosen by God. Shaul was very clearly from the Psukim chosen by God.
Right.
So either God violated the drasha of Lo Yasser Shevet Yehuda, or the drasha didn't apply until after once Yehuda became the king. Then we're not going to remove him.
The whole point of kings never came about until Shaul time, when people said we want a king. So this is pre-Shaul.
Yeah.
I want him to be king. The nation never wanted a king.
So for sure the nation wanted a king. The whole purpose, not the whole purpose.
It was more of the confederacy.
The nation. So there's two points.
A king, but a king knew they wanted a king.
There's 2 points. First of all, they ask for a king by not Avimelech, by Gidon. They invite him to become king, and he turns it down. But the refrain in Sefer Shoftim over and over again is that there is no king, and that's why everything is lawless. So there's a need, but people haven't expressed the need. They're going to, in the next couple prakim, they're going to come to the realization of how badly they need a king, and then they're going to ask for him. They're going to be Shoel. They're going to ask for Shaul, and he's going to come and play that role, but it's a role that I believe Chana wants for her son.
By this time, by the way, Yehuda and Binyamin were basically one.
By this time, Yehuda and Binyamin
were already basically
You're talking about geographically?
Geographically.
Right. because Binyamin was basically
absorbed.
wiped out, and
Correct.
Same with Shimon.
Also, Shimon, of course.
Yeah.
Which is why, it's comical when they say 10 tribes were lost.
Right.
They weren't.
Right. So what we'll see, and maybe we'll pause over here and pick up next week. They didn't have ways.
They don't have ways in Israel now.
What we're going to see, I think, in the beginning of the next parak is we get.
They have ways. They just took down.
We're going to get a very in-depth prayer from Chana. Remember, she's the one that she innovates all of tefillah. I mean, we have like tons of halachos. The fact that you can't be drunk when you daven comes from Eli accusing Chana of being drunk while she's right? All of those kinds of things come from Chana's behavior. Yeah, exactly. She's not to blame for Chazaras Hashat. And as part and parcel of her tefillah, we'll see her davening that there should be malchus. This is the first time where someone is actually expressing that kind of language. And then we can try to contrast that with how David talks about Chana's tefillah in Sefer Tehillim, but we'll leave all of that for next week unless there are any questions.
Good job. Thank you.
Okay, Yasher Koch.
Okay, that's it for now. I'm so glad you were able to join us on this holy quest for a better understanding of Hashem's Torah.